Serious stuff finally coming out.
Losing to Zyra in the semifinals and then banning it throughout the rest of it, so they recognize the strength there. First picking at Fortnite Jackie. Also some target bans coming out a little bit. York been seen heavily in this tournament.
Yes.
Lots of gimmick strats. Also Rain Man just picking him just because.
Just because. Just because. Zyra has been really very strong. We've seen some very good ultimates. We've seen Orbit playing it very strong. Now, do you think Nijaki was thinking of picking it earlier on? You know, he was banned out, she was banned out, I should say, pretty much in every match, apart from the one that got through, and that was the first pick. Now, picking it as an AP first immediately gives you that advantage to see what you're going to go with. Skarner is a very good pick against Zyra.
He really is. He can just pull her out of her plans, get this fight set up in the right spot. They recognize the power, I think. Nijaki played Zyra at IPL Faceoff. She's got a very, I think, close to 70% win rate so far this tournament MLG. She's actually been played fairly heavily. A lot of it's been off stream or on the beta stream, so we haven't seen that much of it on the mainstream. I wonder what Scar is going to pick to counter lane against it, because talking with some of the players, I know Salsi thinks Ryze is a good counter pick up against Zyra. I know Scar plays a lot of Ryze, and through all this pick ban, Malphite somehow snuck through once again, and we see Curse just picking it up there.
Yeah, so Ezreal also picked up their Cop. Does manage to get Corki now, and we've seen Malphite. Now, Malphite's been banned out a hell of a lot of matches in this tournament, and he is going to get in there, which means they've got a lot of CC now. They've got the Zyra ulti backed up with the Malphite ulti. They're just going to destroy people if they clump together. So you've got to think immediately Dignitas don't want that clump together team, and it's looking like Gragas is going to come out here for Skara.
That's one thing that can just declump the fights is if they throw in that Gragas ulti. Also, they have a very good AD carry picked here for I'm a Cutie Pie. If he brings Cleanse, he's going to be able to avoid that clump of AoE that Elements and St. Vicious, or sorry, that Nijaki would throw out at them.
Okay, as it is at the moment, I'm a Cutie Pie sat there on your screen just waiting to see what he's going to pick in here. What will they go with? I'm not too sure. I mean, honestly, what would you go with right now? I mean, they've not got the support champ picked. It is available by both teams. We could see maybe a Leona, a Lulu. Lulu has been picked up and it's going to be locked straight in as well. But
Choi was one of the first supports to start picking up Lulu, and this may have been from Dignitas' experience in Korea, although they had Locust when they were in Korea. That's where Lulu really started to find her stride. She's a ban in every game against Azubu, Blaze, and Frost, and really just starting to pick up steam at this MLG, really starting to recognize the team fight strength that Lulu can bring into your composition.
Could we see a support Fiddlesticks? We did see it in Game 1 versus Orbit this morning. And there is Olaf locked in. Olaf was banned in every single match this morning. That is going to be a big thing.
Westrice's favorite top to play is Olaf. We'll see what Crumbs can put up against him. That's what he's comfortable on. That is what Westrice likes to play. I mean, obviously Akali is his true love, but after that, it probably goes into Olaf for tournament play. And he finally got his hands on it.
So final pick coming out for Dignitas here. That top lane against Olaf. What are they going to go with? I Will Dominate is going to be making the pick. It could be Rumble, but
it wouldn't surprise me if it's Rumble. Crumbs has been playing a lot of that this tournament. It's also
he's been making some pretty wild ultis, I've been told as well.
Wild ultis as in great ultis or just
wild ultis?
Wild ultis.
Yeah, wild ultis. The like he's the camera guy from Riot, as you know, he's been following. He's thinking, where is that ulti landing? It's like half across the trees, all over the place. But as it is, that area your team's picked in there, and we're going to see things saying out. So what do you expect? Are we going to see a top lane, bottom lane switch around? Elements work very well with Fiddlesticks early on. He pretty much is very strong against the 2v1.
Based on how Curse has been playing, at least in the semifinals, they've been doing nothing but 2v1 swaps. Olaf's also very strong at farming in 1v2 situations with that axe, being able to pick up creeps from range. I'd expect Curse to do a lot of 1v2s.
So we're going to go to commercial, guys. We'll be back in a few moments. It is Curse versus Dignitas. Dignitas currently 1-0 up in this best of 5 series. What will happen in this game? Anyone knows?
As you can see, the numbers are looking excellent.
I don't believe this. I didn't get the memo. Why in the f did they get rid of Casual Fridays?
Sweating on the inside? Handle it on the outside with the all-day power of new Speed Stick Power.
Andy.
Yeah.
Good job.
New Speed Stick Power. Don't sweat it. Handle it.
All right, let's rock. I forgot the words. I forgot all of them. I can't remember a single word. Just gonna pound on this thing. Yeah! Yeah!
Sweating on the inside? Handle it on the outside with the all-day power of new Speed Stick Power.
You know I wrote that song for you, Cheryl.
Susan.
Right.
New Speed Stick Power. Don't sweat it, handle it.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are on the way for Game 2 of the MLG Raleigh Summer Championships Grand Finals. A best of 5, 1-0 Dignitas currently. After a pretty wild first game, we are into serious mode. And Dignitas, they actually want to win this. So, despite the fact that it was a crazy ARAM, they did get the first game. They did give up the blue side first pick, but they came out on top.
And now in this game, we do see the standard team comps finally coming out. I think we definitely set a kills record.
Oh, they could catch on towards.
They might catch this guy.
Imakuchibai gets slowed down. Will it be enough, though? Just Arcane shifts away. Had to take that as first skill. Again, the axe landing on Imakuchibai there. He's going to land a third Q as well. And that's just going to force him to go back to base early on. Curse could well take away the blue buff here. They do ward it up. Elements is still lingering around there. Gragas is well aware. The invade continues. When they take away the blue buff, you can see the ward from Dignitas there. That's going to show vision of the entire Curse team right now. So Skara's well aware of where they are. Could just roll the barrel into the whole team.
This could be very dangerous for them. If Imakuchibai gets close enough, they could very well try to engage off of this. When they're all grouped up, they get a lot of guaranteed damage. But instead, they're just going to avoid them and let them have their way with their jungle, it appears.
Yeah, Skara leveled out the barrel to start with there, so he thought about it. Instead, they're just going to say, fine, we'll take the Wraiths, I will dominate. I think Curse are probably going to go for the invade here. You can see Westrice is going to back off. It could still be a 4-man invade around that corner. They're well aware of the fact that they could be giving up their own blue buff. They've got no wards over that place at the moment. That ward won't be able to give them vision either, because they're just around the corner from it, so they couldn't see what was going on there. And looks like Curse are going to come in around there. Nijacki's going to start leashing that blue buff off. And it is going to be Cop and Elements helping out St. Vicious, which means Cop and Elements are going to be in that bottom lane. So it's actual standard meta coming out here. You can see Patoy coming around, having a little poke towards it, trying to get the steal on. But St. Vicious will take the blue buff.
That's still going to be really bad for I Will Dominate if he can't get up on a blue buff. Skarner, one of the most blue-reliant junglers in the game. And you can see up top now when he's doing double golems, he's already out of mana and health since his blue buff had been stolen away.
Yeah, it just hurts Skarner. You can see he's going to take away that at the top there. So in the middle here you can see Nijacki versus Skara. Nijacki on Zyra. Zyra's been played very strongly here. He managed to get the root straight away on Skara, but Skara has been playing that Gragas actually a couple of different ways. We've seen the Abyssal Scepter coming out early, we've seen the Deathfire Grasp coming out early, we've also seen the Rabadon's Death Cap coming out early, and this Elements on the bottom lane with Fiddlesticks as support. This is not the first time we've seen this. We've seen it across a number of tournaments. I've seen Moscow 5 using it as well.
It's really hit or miss.
It is very hit or miss, and he's going to try and land the Fear on towards Imakuchibai there, and the Fear in itself is a random hit or miss because it could launch him either way, but that Dark Wind is just going to get bounced in between him, can get a good poke on.
The one thing we're going to see from Elements is he'll ult with the Shirelia's Reverie on that Fiddlesticks. They try to get brush control once he hits level 6, and then they just wait until someone walks into fear range. He pops the Terrify and then ults into them. That's really his strategy on this. I wonder if Dignitas is going to try to counterplay that with some well-timed ganks or something, because it's fairly predictable and like clockwork how he's doing that support Fiddlesticks.
Yeah, and the problem is, as soon as Imakuchibai gets anything near a big item, if they try it on him, he'll just turn around and blast Elements down unless he gets that fear on him.
Especially the fact that he's brought Cleanse, so he's very well prepared for that fear, and it's very counterplayable. And interestingly enough, there's a lot of things that Imakuchibai wanted to cleanse just in these team comps, so smart summoner spell choice there.
So meanwhile, at the top lane, we can see Westrice on Olaf versus Crumbs. Crumbs has been playing a lot of Rumble in this tournament. This is the first time I think I've seen Westrice actually available to get Olaf. Was banned out all this morning, every match we saw, and you can see throwing out that axe, getting the last hits. We are seeing I Will Dominate possibly going to go for a gank in this top lane.
Westrice knows he's pushed up too far.
And he's going to try and back away from this one. He didn't manage to walk away. He's going to get caught out. I Will Dominate's going to walk straight in towards him. He is going to be able to put that axe across, and did actually use his ghost there, I believe, to get away from that one.
He needed to. If he wouldn't have, they would have gotten chain slowed by I Will Dominate. Instead, he just ends up having to pop that summoner spell. A timely gank by I Will Dominate did achieve a goal of getting Crumb some free farm and burning a summoner spell. That's really all he could have hoped for there.
Party time elements, meanwhile, down that bottom lane. He's draining up their minions. Every time he gets hit, he just drains out one of their siege minions, and Cutie Pie is just going to try and get the cure him. He dodges out of the way of it, and he goes back to throwing out Dark Wind just straight across the both of them. Army Cutie Pie gets shielded up by Lulu. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Scar is actually pretty low on mana, and he's up against Nijaki, obviously, of course, who did pick up his own blue buff. So he's got a big advantage in that middle lane.
That's a lot of stacking advantages against Skara for Nijaki. Going to be interesting to see. Gragas can be a very passive farmer. He can generally just sit back and throw his barrels. But with that, since Nijaki has had the blue, he is up on minions a fair bit there, 32-21.
Well, it's the advantage against I Will Dominate as well on Skarner. He obviously needs that blue buff really early on. He's not going to get it. He's going to get a lot of damage burst down to him by Nijaki as well in that middle lane. Managed to get the root out there. Nijaki at the moment doing a fantastic job of pushing that lane. Let's have a look compared to the CS. We have seen him. Gragas gone away from it. See, 36-21 already. Advantage starting to stack up for Nijaki.
And the great thing for him is since they've kept Skarner down, he can be quite aggressive in that lane. He's only going to have to get a little bit scared once Scar hits level 6 with that explosive cask. So really all the lanes for Curse right now, because I Will Dominate is so far behind, has no buffs, has no mana, can really just play without fear.
Yeah, we can see Westrise at the top there, forcing Crumbs back. Just managing to hit himself out there. I Will Dominate farming away. St. Vicious did get a peek in that bottom lane for a while, but he was stood on top of a ward, which means he's had to back off towards those golems. Nijaki just continuing the poke. Elements keeping them at range as much as possible. In terms of AD down the bottom there, it is 39-47, so not that great an advantage for Cop so far, but it is an advantage nevertheless. Cop, you know, despite having a rough first few games against Orbit Gaming this morning, has definitely gone into his stride. Finished off the day 9-0-9 against Orbit, so was very strong in that final match.
So where is this 800 gold lead coming from? Because there's been no kills. They did get some of those objective steals, but who's got the lead? It's 51-43, Corki versus Ezreal. Mid lane's up by 10. Olaf has 40, Rumble has 30, so it's really just a small number of minions across every lane is leading to this cumulative small advantage.
And we see I Will Dominate. He's going to walk straight past the ward, though, so he's going to be out of spotted. There is no ghost on that top lane, though, so that means you're going to see the Rumble ulti. You know, Dominate tries to. Westrise is trying to try and get away from this one. He's going to have to pop his ulti. He can't. He's going to try and turn the kill on towards Crumbs. It's not going to happen. Crumbs picks up the first blood, and that is Westrise going down.
Good gank there. The ulti really didn't do much other than decide his angle, but still, I Will Dominate, despite getting shut down early, pulls off the first successful gank of the game.
Yeah, as it is at the moment, though, that's going to give the advantage. You can see the blue buff is going to be available in a minute. I mean, Cutie Pie just going towards it, but you can see Zyra and Malphite going straight towards it. St. Fisher starts it off. Nijaki's going to come around. Nijaki wants this blue buff, and if they can just keep starving this from Skarner, it is going to give them such a big advantage. You can see they are nowhere near this one. Oh, that's going to be trying to get steal there from Ivory Cutie Pie. He knew it was happening, and he didn't manage to get it.
Surprisingly, we've been saying that I Will Dominate has been behind, but with that successful gank, and he's actually been able to clear a substantial amount of minions, so 41 farm on Skarner and hitting level 6 at 8 minutes is actually right on pace. So
he's ahead as well.
He's ahead of St. Vicious as well, who may have been pulling off some unsuccessful ganks, or he's just feeding too many blue buffs to Nijaki. I Will Dominate's ganks are actually going to be fairly vicious at this point, and he has recovered and handled not having a blue buff really, really well.
While that is the case, you can see Nijaki actually ahead of Skara, though, in that mid lane. So he is managed to, like you say, it's just traded off, giving him that blue buff. At the top there, you can see Westrise returns the lane. He's a level behind on Crumbs there, as you'd expect. Crumbs picking up that kill early on. Iron Cutie Pie's lane's been shoved in there by Cop. It's an interesting way that they've gone about it. The way the meta shifts in towards the ADs. It used to be at one time, they used to be happily just keep it middle, and it used to be always keeping it in the middle there, because you can set up the jungler as much as possible. You can see Elements just off the side there, actually. Hasn't hit 6 just yet, so he's not going to be able to get his ultimate. Actually, has he just? Yes, he has hit 6. So Fiddlesticks wants to Crow Storm in here. You can see he's just biding his time. Is the jungler going to come down, or is he just going to try and crow on top of Iron Cutie Pie's head? Cop, you can see he's trying to let him push the pace a little bit. He wants to get the turret down a little bit more. As I say that, he puts an ulti in towards a couple of minions, picks up the farm. There we go. He lets the the lane push on. They have no
so
idea
hard
that
for
Elements is
Elements
there.
to close down on I'mACutiePie. He has Cleanse, Flash, and Essence Flux, so...
That's the ultimate use, though. There's the shield use.
Here he comes.
Prime time. Here comes Elements straight in there. Caw, trying to get onto him. He's actually going to go on towards I'mACutiePie. Not going to happen. And immediately gets turned into a little squirrel.
No, Elements made a big mistake there. He was
his ulti
channeling his
didn't
ultimate,
Yeah.
but he flashed out of it before the channel finished.
I was just thinking it didn't see Party Time Fiddle going there.
there's the
Skarner
counter
comes in. I will dominate. Going to hook onto Elements. Elements surely going to get dropped. One more shot. It will be I'mACutiePie that picks up the kill. So Elements making mistake 1 and 2, and Dignitas making them pay.
Bit of a boo-boo there. You can tell that Curse is not going to be having a good time with Elements, burning his flash and his ultimate, and then giving up a death, giving Dignitas the advantage in this lane. It's going to be hard once a Fiddlestick's lane falls behind to force much of anything.
So I'mACutiePie taking a couple of tower hits. They're just going to clear out the wave. Back off and bite. Picking up a nice kill there for the process. 73 CS. He's already got that phage on there. Meanwhile, in the middle lane, Skara's going to get caught out here. The Zyra ulti does manage to catch onto him. Skara should drop down. Nijaki picks up the kill there. Very nicely played. And that was simply a case of catching the root and just following it straight with that burst damage ulti.
It's just the nature of having 2 blue buffs in a row for 10 minutes. He built up his advantage against Skara, and then he took advantage of it right there. Got a nice root down and just comboed it extremely well with the rest of his kit. Zyra, a surprisingly strong burst mage, and just caught Skara out of position a bit there. Skara struggling in that lane, having no blue buffs.
Meanwhile, the top lane, very even on farm between the two. Haunting Guy's already completed by Crumbs, actually, before the Sorcerer's Boot, so he's feeling pretty confident he doesn't need to escape against Westrise. Westrise, of course, already 1-0 down in kills on that top lane, which means you'd expect Crumbs to start pushing a huge advantage on Westrise. Westrise just took away the Wraiths as well. In that top lane, you can see the tower shoved on him there. So I will dominate, not coming around to try and get anything onto him. Back in the bottom lane, let's have a look down there, see how that's working out between the two, because they have both returned to lane. You can see Phage actually being picked up, and pretty much almost the Sheen completed by Cop there. Meanwhile, the pickaxe actually, so which means we are seeing a change in build from I'mACutiePie here.
He might just go Phage into Infinity Edge, or he was just looking for a quick damage burst and knew he couldn't complete a Sheen, so...
Westrise at the top is actually
get a
very low.
there.
I'mACutiePie, sorry, Crumbs pushing on towards Westrise. Westrise going to have to back away, forced to back away from that one. He's going to lose a lot of damage on his turret there, because Crumbs has got another creep wave coming in. He's going to continue pushing on. The ping actually going down there, saying, I need help with Crumbs.
Westrise having issues going for the Heart of Gold Philosopher's Stone route, so it's Crumbs rushing the early magic penetration, and Westrise not really building any magic resist. He's now just working on Mercury Treads, but he's going to struggle in that lane until he gets some resistances up, maybe a Hex Drinker, maybe Merc Treads, and there's a gank middle.
In the middle lane, you can see that was the unstoppable force from St. Vicious on towards I will dominate. Not a great deal of damage coming out. There's the explosive cast coming out from Skara, going to force them back away. Meanwhile, down that bottom lane, I know Elements was sat there in the bush. He was trying to get that ultimate off, but he was just stood on top of a ward, and they were well aware of what was happening.
Dignitas not falling for the support fiddle tricks, having all the tools to escape these things. Ezra, one of the most difficult champions to lock down, especially when you add on to the fact that he has Cleanse.
And the fact he's got Lulu alongside him. There's definitely going to be a problem.
So
it's just shield up. Very, very slippery. Patoy helping out a lot here. We've seen Dignitas grouping up, though. Possible going to be the blue steel once again.
Be a third attempted blue steel. This time Dignitas is ready for it. We could very well see an engagement or just a smite over the wall.
We could see a smite over the wall. We can see I will dominate in that bush. There isn't no ward in there from Dignitas, so he's not going to be aware of it yet. Just comes straight in, smites in. Now, I'mACutiePie's going to get caught out there. Backs away just in time. The Arcane Shift and Lulu ulti was enough to keep him at bay there. Curse tried it this time around. Dignitas were ready. Smite used. Very cleverly used as well there. And that was Curse really should have warded up that bush.
Or they should have just recognized that Owl Dominate was going to try a smite steal.
Westrise, you have been caught completely out of position here. Where are you going? Are they going to close in around him? You can see Rumble going up the mid lane. Actually, I will dominate. Stop chasing. So he's just going to continue his farm. Crumbs is going to see him in that tri-bush, though. And Crumbs is going to come straight in towards him. Westrise is going to have to use his ulti. He's going to go try and get the stand here. Crumbs does manage to land the ultimate. Not in a great position, though. Crumbs should get taken down here. No! 1-for-1 trade. And would you believe it? Westrise was very lucky to get something out of that one.
That was a really good play by Westrise, honestly. Caught out of position, behind in the lane, and trading kills there is a big advantage for him. He's the one with the 2 GP10 items. By all intents and purposes, he should have lost that engagement with Crumbs. So well played by Westrise, and that's going to be big for him in this lane.
Elements and Cops moving all down that bottom, continuing to shove the lane on IMAcutie, trying to force anything out of it. We can see St. Vicious versus I Will Dominate on the top lane as well. St. Vicious just wants to take down those minions, puts a little couple of hits on I Will Dominate and backs away. Now with that blue buff, of course, I Will Dominate is going to have much more success and definitely going to start causing problems, and he's still a level ahead of St. Vicious.
Doing quite well, waiting for the next Skarner ult to come in. It is off cooldown. He might launch it for Zyra, but just looking at how many wards Curse has up right now, the gold is dead even. All the early game posturing by Curse really has not paid off that much. The only advantage they have really is Nijaki has pulled slightly ahead of Skara.
Yeah, and we're seeing I Will Dominate camping out the top lane. Westrise sat there, puts the axe across. Crumbs gets a good poke. That Flame Spitter really doing a lot of damage right now. He has managed to get the Haunting guys along with his Sorcerer's Boots and another book on him as well. Crumbs is just trying to poke him in, trying to bait Westrise to go aggressive. He wants to purposely lose some hit points, but he's got to be careful. St. Vicious is down there. You can see he wants to use the Unstoppable Force. Of course, I Will Dominate will be able to hook onto someone. Westrise would not be the ideal person though. He can just pop that ulti and walk out of it.
Looking around at these items, there's a lot of GP10 coming out from
Curse. Oh, we go top lane. Westrise actually going to dive towards Crumbs. There's an Unstoppable Force. Core I Will Dominate and Crumbs both down. Westrise is going to try and escape from this one. Pops his ultimate. He gets dropped there. And now St. Vicious gets dropped as well. Crumbs with a double kill in the top lane. Very, very nicely played. And again, escaping very much with his life.
Turning the tides, they're actually getting the full effect of Rumble's ultimate down in that fight. Westrise and St. Vicious both just sitting in that and in Skarner's crystal slashes. So a turnaround there. Westrise was confident from the fight before that he would be able to straight up duel Crumbs, but he wasn't sitting as far in the ultimate last time, and that's pretty big. 4 kills now on Crumbs. Let's see what he can turn that into.
Looking like a Riders actually. He's gone for the Giant's Belt in there. Possibly going to turn that into it. Flame Spitter with that Riders will definitely do some damage, get that slow down. We'll see what he builds into though. As it is at the moment, no Dragon attempt, 16-minute gone in this game, and like you mentioned, the difference at the moment is for Curse, the only advantage they've got going on is Nijaki in that mid lane, has that level advantage over Skara, has that farm advantage over Skara as well, and with that blue buff is really starting to cause problems, but Skara is just going to sit and farm. You talked about this before, you know, he loves to farm. He's not that far behind, only 10 CS.
Seems like Nijaki has had a blue buff on him the entire match, and really, if you do want one champion farmed, it would be Zyra. The, literal size of his AoE in these teamfights means he has close to guaranteed damage. It's going to be tough for Dignitas to teamfight against that really fed Zyra, and we'll see if having just that one guy ahead is enough for Curse to pull this through.
Well, the big thing is with the AE comp they've got going on, you could land the Zyra ulti with the Malphite ulti with the Fiddlesticks ulti all stacked on top of each other. It would burst a lot of people down if they can catch the right targets. You know, you're going to jump them up twice, you're going to keep that damage going on with Elements. Of course, Elements is not going to have a crazy amount of ability power, but it's enough. It ticks it down.
The only problem with all of Curse's AoE is Dignitas' mobility and the needing to crowd up. So I Will Dominate is potentially the guy to get isolated because Crumbs and I Will Dominate are kind of together. Patoy, IMAcutie, and Skara can all be pretty much anywhere. So as far as clumping up, Dignitas has no reason to. So it's very difficult for Curse to actually find everyone with all their area of effect.
So as it is, Crumbs doing a fantastic job in that top lane, 4-1-0. And you can see the gold advantage is probably pretty huge between him and Westrise now. Westrise did go for those GP10 items, 4,700 gold compared to 5,300 gold. And we have a pause coming out here. Interesting one. We've not had that many pauses throughout this tournament. So this
has been pretty smooth.
This has got to be something between the teams themselves, some sort of issue they're talking between, because we can't see any issue within the game. But 5-2 currently in the match. Curse, they've tried a few things, but it's just not worked for them. Dignitas are ready and waiting for it every time, and really Crumbs has been a big pain in their side.
With all of that, though, it's still really close. This is a 500 gold difference, so the kills can be a little bit deceptive. No one's taken a tower yet. No one's taken a dragon yet, so we're still kind of waiting for this game to start. The first big team fight will show us a whole bunch. Skara and Nijaki kind of mirroring each other right now. They both did just finish in Abyssal Scepter, so they're really just looking to trade and bash at each other in this game.
Yeah, I think we had more kills than this, probably in about 2 minutes in the last game.
Yeah, potentially.
Slightly different match, though.
Level 2.
For sure. Dignitas currently 1-0 up in the series. This is the MLG Raleigh Summer Championships, the finals, of course. Dignitas, if they win this, they'll be facing Team Legion next weekend at PAX Prime. If they do not, It will be Team Dynamic, and they do not want to face Team Dynamic. They've had a tough 4-game series against them just this morning here on the mainstream. And, you know, the fact they lost 2-0 against Team Dynamic is a scary, scary thing. I mean, yeah, they came out eventually and won 2-0 at the end of it, but they have that potential to make 2-0 losses.
And Team Curse actually, despite the fact that this game has no direct impact on their seeding, they still want to beat Dignitas because however they can get more good teams out of the North American regionals, the better. So they want Dignitas to have to fight up against Team Dynamic. They want to win as well.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there's a lot on the line because you would expect Team Solar Mid, Counterlogic Gaming Prime to be the 1 and 2. You would expect. Don't know which order, you'd expect them to be through. So you think Dignitas and Curse right here that are fighting for it, these are the 2 that are going to be fighting for that 3rd spot, potentially. I would have said the same for the European scene. I would have said CLG Moscow 5. Of course, that changed, and SK Gaming really upset the apple cart. So these things can happen at these regionals, especially when it's a simple best-of-3 knockout tournament.
And Curse looking really good since they moved into that gaming house. Once again, this is the 2nd straight tournament they've made it into the finals, so they're really turning themselves into a big-time top team.
Indeed, they really need to put the pressure out there as well because that gaming house is not cheap.
No.
They're in there for a year as well, I believe.
Yeah.
I know what the rent is, and that is not cheap. Hubert, you're doing a fantastic job for Curse Gaming. You are representing pretty much the most expensive gaming house in the Western world, I believe. It is safe to say. So as it is, the pause is still on. If you've just joined us, you missed a interesting first game. I'm not really sure what I could actually say it was. It was definitely a different
Dignitas
first game.
victory.
It was a Dignitas victory.
And we're back.
It's something I don't expect we'll probably ever see again in a tournament, but we are back underway. It is 5-2, and like I was saying, you know, the fact that Crumbs on that top lane is 4-1-0 could well be a big turning point.
It'll be interesting to see. Rumble, while he can carry some games, does have a bit of an issue, especially against all the Air of Effect. If there's people that are going to be punished, it's going to be Crumbs and I Will Dominate from having to run into Nijaki, from having to run through Elements' Fiddlesticks ultimate. It's really going to be interesting whether he can stop doing those wild Rumble ultimates and really land some impactful ones in these teams.
Westroy's stealing away the red buff here. He's got the help of Nijaki. They're going to try and go for a gank on Rumble. They need to shut him down. He's going to walk straight past the Tribush ward there, though, and Crumbs is well aware of what is happening.
Which way is he going to run?
Which way is Nijaki going to go? He's going to go around there. There's Crumbs. He's going to try and catch on towards him. Does get the Ignite down. Westroy should have enough damage here. There's going to be the ultimate coming out. He is going to manage to take him down there, though, and he does back away from it. Meanwhile, down the bottom, there's Elements getting his ultimate down. Patoy taking him down. They was hooked on by Skarner, and that's going to be surely the bottom turret as well, taken down 6-3 now. I'm a cutie pie picking that one up. You can see Skarner immediately unstoppable force by St. Vicious had to get used to escape from that one, and surely Dignitas are going to turn this one into a dragon.
So right after the pause, an explosion of action. Dignitas looks like they're coming out on top of almost all of this. They did lose Crumbs, but the kill, tower, and dragon are substantially better than that. So still really, the only main advantage that Curse holds is Nijaki's farm.
Yes, indeed. So 6-3, 2,404 to 2,609, 2-0 in turrets. Dignitas turning the advantages on, or trying as best they can, despite the fact that Wraiths are going to try and get stolen away there by Zyra. Nijaki doing a fantastic job in that mid lane. He is the saving grace for Curse Gaming, and really something that needs to become a problem though. But Westroyce is going to be a problem when we get to team fights, because, you know, once he pops that ultimate, you can't slow him down. He's going to be diving onto someone.
He's going to run clean through to whatever he wants, ignoring absolutely every form of crowd control. So he's going to probably want to just lock onto Skara and try to train him down, not let him body slam away. It's going to be very interesting to see how well Skara can bisect Curse in team fights, really split them up. What they do last time when they had the Gragas-Skarner combo is Skara tries to isolate someone into the range of I Will Dominate's ultimate and then just pulls them back farther.
Skara's going to get caught out here. St. Vicious hasn't got unstoppable force available, does flash through, and that's the explosive cask used by Skara to blast them backwards, and that is going to be forcing them away. Cop was there as well, so they had the damage to try and finish that one through. Cop just finished the Trinity Force off. Meanwhile, you can see that I'm a cutie pie trying to build out that Infinity Edge, switching to it actually mid-build. Or really just getting the phage for the hit points and possible slow proc.
So right now, even though Cop is about 1,000 gold behind I'm a Cutie Pie, he's actually doing more damage. I'm a Cutie Pie is not finished in Infinity Edge or any really big item. He has a phage, a bit of attack damage, but that's nothing compared to the Trinity Force procs that Cop can throw through. If there's one item that when you get it, you have the most damage, it is a Trinity Force. It doesn't multiply as well as an Infinity Edge with other AD items, but when you get it, you are the strongest champion.
You get a hell of a lot of stats off it, that's for sure. I'm a Cutie Pie down that bottom lane, continuing to shove on. Got to be careful they don't get too far out. Mid lane, actually, Zyra's going to get caught on, hooked on by Nijaki. Did manage to pull his ulti off, though. That could be the saving grace for him. Will get the root on. Meanwhile, at the top lane, also, Crumbs is getting dived on. Let's look at the top lane quickly. Crumbs is surely going to get dropped, so it's going to be a 1-for-1. Will Westrise? No! There's the axe coming through. Does manage to take him down to a 1-for-1 exchange. Dignitas going to push on towards the middle turret. Are they going to be able to do the same at the top there? I'm not too sure. I think I Will Dominate. Skara should be able to take this turret down.
Dignitas just going for the strongest member. Curse trying to make sure Nijaki doesn't take over this game. They've gotten yet another tower that's now 3-0, and Curse not able to push all the way through to that top. If they're not careful, they're going to lose complete map control in this game.
Yeah, and we talked about this before. I Will Dominate just locking onto Zyra, and he's really taking him out of the game. While we also say Westrise can jump through straight through, that is exactly what I Will Dominate be looking to do it. We saw it earlier on for Orbit, and that was the only way they could shut down that Zyra. And Zyra, despite the fact he was shut down quite a few times, went about 8-2-3, I think, in that game. As it is at the moment, Curse are trying to stack it towards that middle turret. This is a bit of a mistake by Dignitas here. They've all backed off. They're going to lose the top turret, and they're going to lose the middle turret.
It's a good comeback for Curse. And looking at the mid lane matchup again, despite all of those blue buffs that Nijaki had on Zyra early in the game, Skara has came back. Completely identical farm, both sitting on a kill, and really just props to Skara for sticking conservatively, waiting for the ganks, and just keeping his farm up, because all those blue buffs that he lost early have not impacted his farm.
Indeed, so I Will Dominate coming back around the side there, clearing out those wraiths. Nijaki has to be careful. There's 4 members of Dignitas right ahead of him. He hasn't got a tower to fall back on, so he's going to back away from this one. He's trying to farm on the route, but it's looking like Dignitas setting up. I think I'm going to try and get a gank. I'm not too sure. I Will Dominate with that Oracle. It's going to try and see if he can pick anything up. They want possibly blue buff away here. I'm not too sure if it's available. There you go. He just warded it. Patoy. Let's see if they can get anything from it. I Will Dominate will be at it. Actually, he missed out on 25 gold there. It ran out in time.
Interesting choice by Westrise, actually opting for a Force of Nature very early on. There's a lot of AP magic damage coming down from Dignitas, but that's really just saying he doesn't think I'm a Cutie Pie can deal enough damage to him to get him off. Interesting choice there. He's got the move speed from Force of Nature and the innate health regen, but that's a very early item, and I'm a little bit surprised. We'll see if it works out.
So blue buff going to Skara in the bottom. Skara's going to come across and keep Curse from pushing this lane. And we're doing a little bit of a farming session here between the lanes. So how do you make out on these item stack outs? You can see that Skara's actually going to go looking like towards Rabadon's Death Cap off the back of that Abyssal Scepter. So again, not going for that Death by Grasp. Meanwhile, it's looking like Zyra's doing pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, both AP mids in an arms race to see who can get the first Rabadon's Death Cap. If one of them can complete it before the other, it will be a huge power spike. I'm a Cutie Pie finally getting to that Infinity Edge, so there he has pulled ahead of Cop on Corki. If we get a full-on team fight here, obviously it's all going to be about Skara's initiating combo with Dominate, but item-wise, I would give the slight edge to Dignitas.
Boots and mobility being picked up by Patoy as well. Interesting to see he's doing that on Lulu.
Fast Lulu.
A very fast Lulu indeed. Shirelli's recovery has been completed by I Will Dominate, as it is at the moment. Looking like Dignitas with the slightest of advantages, but one big team fight could definitely turn things around here. Westrise actually pinging on towards Dominate there. They're aware that he's in that position. They're aware that he's going to back away. Of course, I'm a Cutie Pie way down the bottom, as was Cop. Cop now making his way up towards the middle there. They need to be careful. We are at the 24-minute stage. Baron is definitely a possibility, and Curse are in the right position to go for it. I'm a Cutie Pie a long way away from this if a fight would go off.
Just waiting to see how they get the initiate. Dignitas very, very pick-based. All they want to do is knock one key member that's not Westrise so he can't break out of it into their team, and then pull him back farther with I Will Dominate. There's a very distinct front line on Curse, however. There's Malphite and Olaf, who will very much be all in, and then it's all about Zyra and Corki to do the majority of the cleanup damage.
Yeah, Curse realizing they can't push on that turret. It's going to be very hard against the barrels of Skara. Dragon has just respawned, so I expect the teams to both position themselves for this one. You can see I Will Dominate already heading down there. Dignitas have the timer on it, of course. They're going to get into position first and start off on this Dragon. How are Dignitas going to respond? Oh, Westrise, you are way out of position. They've got to give it to him. There's no way they can react to it now.
The instant they saw Westrise go top, they knew they could take the Dragon uncontested. So just Westrise
Crumbs
wanting that farm too much.
Just used his ulti there. Where did Crumbs just use? Oh, he tried to steal the blue buff away.
Right, they were trying to double steal it actually. Ezreal fired his ult across as well, but Nijaki taking it down too quickly with that plant damage, getting the blue buff for himself.
So Dignitas still controlling the lead. Only a 2,000 gold difference currently, 26 minutes into this game. So very much even in terms of as a big team fight were to go off. I'm not too sure really who would come out on top. The Infinity Edge, of course, on MLG. It's all going to be down to the positioning of the ADs and, of course, the burst. If Nijaki can land it in the right place, and whether Elements can follow it straight up, who can he get the fear on? If he could get the fear onto Gragas, if they could pick Gragas out pretty quickly, it would cause them problems. But as it stands, I think Dignitas have the control situation. Crumbs has just used his ulti. Dominate's going to get caught out here. Needs to be careful. Have they got the damage? Unstoppable Force going to go down into him. The Zyra ulti wasted. Didn't catch onto him. Dominate will go down though. Westroy's now going to turn it on towards Patoy. Patoy has to use the ultimate on himself. Back away from this one. Arker's going to turn this into anything. They did take down the smite of I Will Dominate. I'm not too sure they could go for the dig. Oh, Crumbs, you just got turned into it. The fear came up, I think, from the Elements there. Army Cutie Pie is going to get stunned out. He's going to be an arcane shift out of this one. Westroy's now back on towards Patoy. Patoy's already used that ultimate. The damage continuing from Westroy. Skara tries to slow him down, manages to slam him in there, and Curse back out of that one. Only a 1-for-0 exchange, and this is still going on here. I'm a Cutie Pie is not giving up on this one. He wants to kill, still get some poke on the back of them. Curse are pretty low on health there, and they're going to have to back away from it.
All of Curse's ultimates getting expended there. However, now that Dignitas is back up with I Will Dominate, they still have 3 ultimates in Ezreal, Rumble, and Skarner. So despite that quick 1-for-0 pick giving Curse a bit of gold, Dignitas now has a chance to counter-initiate on top of them. One of the reasons this game has been so slow, I think, is in some games when teams recognize they have a very early game composition or the other team is much stronger late, they'll try to force a lot of objectives. They'll try to fight very often. They'll really push to get things happening. Both of these teams are pretty confident in their ability to get late game. Neither one of them really has much urgency to do things big. So it's really a matter of them trying to find just the right fight because there's no urgency to get the game over with soon.
So St. Vicious building very tanky now. It's going to become a problem as he gets involved. And obviously, you know, Dignitas are not going to be aiming towards him. He's got that 5k, that 40-second tick along with the damage is going to cause issues. He's just going to be standing in their faces. Rabadon's death cap just completed by Nijaki as well. Rabadon's death cap also onto Skara. So in terms of builds, very much even between the two. Oracle's Elixir just been picked up by Patoy as well. They did lose that Oracle on Dominate earlier on.
You can see Elements going for the long game. He has 3 GP10 items. He really wants to get something like a Reverie plus a Zhonya's Hourglass on Fiddlesticks. If he can get to a point where he has legitimate Fiddlesticks items and he's not a squishy support Fiddlesticks, that'll be really, really good for Curse.
He did, but he just bought the Oracle, which is...
It's going to set him back a little bit.
It's going to set him back, and it's actually a little bit dangerous. I think I'd rather put on
a little surprising that St. Vicious hasn't bought it, especially considering his playstyle is very suicide-based right now. Really, as soon as we see the first team fight, unless they win it in a stunning fashion, he's going to lose that Oracles.
Because he's going to be very squishy indeed. As it's down between the levels, we can see 17 versus 17, Nijaki and Skara. So the 2 AP champions are by far the highest. The 2 ADs are not that far behind. Crumb's actually up there, level 16, compared to Westroyce at 16. Cop and Cutie Pie both at 15. So no great big advantage. Elements and Patoy both at 11. And in terms of level difference, it's always scary at this point, you know, because if one of those supports were to get caught out by, say, Skara, who's just lingering with their barrels in the back there, he will do a hell of a lot of damage to Elements.
Yeah, Elements really scared about clearing that ward. You can see that Dignitas would try to just spike him out through the wall. You could tell that's what Skara was waiting for. Still not able to clean that ward. He's very scared, and here they come. He's just so terrified of wanting that ward down.
Testing the balls of Elements, as it were. See if he's going to go for that one. And Dignitas are going to back away from it.
There's his window.
The barrel. Oh, they're going to catch on towards Nijaki then. Oh, very much, very, very close by Nijaki. I Will Dominate. If he would have hooked on, that would have been Nijaki almost certainly dead. Instead, Dominate's going to take a bit of damage in the back there. And Nijaki just about managing to root him in time.
Both teams just very, very cautious. Finally gets that ward down. That only took 45 seconds, and whoops, there's another one. See how long they have to just poke and prod around Baron here. There's being so cautious. The fight can break out at pretty much any moment, but neither team wants to get caught out of position just because there's such pick-based teams. There's
a big creep wave pushing that bottom lane, so somebody's going to have to go deal with it. You can see Cop is heading down there, so he may well have to gets spotted out here. See if Dignitas can turn anything from this one. Nijaki needs to be careful he doesn't get caught out of position. The ping was there from Dignitas. They were well aware, and they're just going to get in, clear out those wards that have been placed there. Patoy clearing them out. There's a hell of a lot of wards there actually from Cursor. Cursor is losing out on a lot of gold. They did clear out that bottom wave, and again Cursor come back up. This dance, this patience, this fight that stands on the Baron is going to continue. Dignitas just clearing out every ward that Curse had just laid down there, set themselves up. Oh, that's a bit of a mistake. Patoy and Dominate both pouring a ward down at the same spot.
And with current strength, even though the total gold lead, will they be able to catch Elements?
Oh, he's going to get hooked on. That's going to be Elements caught out by Y. Will Dominate there. Unstoppable Force who actually went on the opposite side there. They do manage to take him down. He's just going to be able to flash away. Elements is on absolutely nothing but escaping it now. St. Vicious getting involved. Westrise picks up one. Y Will Dominate surely going to go down. Cop is going to get dropped. Skara is very, very low. Will go down as well. Skara managed to take down Cop there, but Westrise picking up the double kill. Fiddlesticks actually survived out of that one. Elements, despite the fact he was the original hook on, just draining the life there, and it was a 3-for-2 actual advantage for Curse, despite the fact it was Dignitas that initiated.
A fight explosion there. St. Vicious not wasting any time. He realized when Elements got hooked that it was time for him to go, and he landed the strong Malphite ultimate, and they did combo up the rest of that fight very easily. Westerice did a great job at just charging through and zoning out Dignitas. They weren't able to really split them up that well with the Grog Assault, and an extremely close fight in an extremely close game after a long standoff.
So off the back of that, Cop has picked up an Infinity Edge. Will of the Ancients for Rumble, and a Aegis of the Legion for Malphite, which is actually going to help Curse quite heavily. So Curse coming out really well on the back of that fight.
They really were, and before that fight, even though the gold was dead even, Curse actually hadn't spent as much of their gold. Olaf and Cop were both sitting on about 1,800, whereas Dignitas had spent it a bit better, so it was really good for them that despite having the weaker items, they were able to come out on top of that fight. Now that they've bought items, it does give them a slight edge, you know, assuming the other million things go right in a fight for them.
Well, Elements currently is on his 5th ward that he's just cleared out around that dragon, so he's milking that 25 golds in every step of the way. He's got another one he's about to find as well. Another 2 he could find out. That could be 7. Meanwhile, Dragon's being taken by Dominate down that bottom lane. Elements continuing to clear out those wards. Westerice on the top there. Dignitas will pick up this dragon for free. It is 9-8. Dignitas with the slightest of leads.
That dragon's going to pull it real
close. It's going to be very much even. 9-8 in kills, 3-2 in turrets. Which means Dignitas, I know, after seeing the back of that fight, really, that ulti from St. Vicious really turned things very nicely for them. And it just showed that Westerice could get involved.
Start on it.
They could start on it. I think Patoy's about to put a ward straight away at the back there yet, and they're going to spot it. That's the Rumble ultimate and the Ezreal ultimate. They can just turn off this one. Elements taken down very low there, and now Dignitas could turn this into a Baron of their own. Of course, the wards all across the place. They've got to be very careful with how they do this one, because if they were clumped in that Baron pit and the Unstoppable Force followed by Elements, followed by Nijaki, were to get on them, it would do a hell of a lot of damage to Dignitas.
Curse has no real way of healing up after that fight, and they can't go back to base. Otherwise, Dignitas would push this through. So Dignitas in a pretty good power advantage. Cop trying his dearest to lifesteal off these creeps, but he's just not quite there. Elements also quite low, going to try to drain up in the jungle. But really, Dignitas, even though they have a bit of a power play, is just backing off. A little surprising here. Opportunity missed.
I'm not sure if they quite realised the advantage they had after the back of that. Maybe they thought, you know, we've just used a couple of ultis. We've not quite got them there yet, so we didn't want to get back involved. The Rumble ultimate would definitely be a pretty key part if they were getting involved in a big team fight.
It is already back up, though. Low cooldowns on that thing. 72-second cooldown at this point in the game for Crumbs. So really, every team fight, you can rely on that thing being up.
So Skara picking up the blue buff. Meanwhile, down that bottom, so that's going to help out with his cooldowns as well, and that mana on the big explosive cask that he's going to be throwing out. It's going to be a huge part of the team fight. And of course, the way the fight went last time, they were both sides of that wall, so they completely split. Shirelia's Reverie now being picked up by Westerice, so he's really going to be motoring through there, trying to get on towards Amikiripai.
Reverie, Force of Nature, just a speeding missile of an Olaf that cannot be hit by any crowd controls, so that will be a nuisance for Dignitas. They'll have to focus a lot of just straight up damage onto him if they want to make sure he doesn't rip through their backline.
Meanwhile, you can see the Void Staff completed by Skara as well. Dominate's coming out, puts that ward straight back where Curse have cleared it out. I'd love to see a ward count right now, because the amount of wards they've been clearing out around this dragon, it's sometimes this Baron stance off, it can be a little bit of a pain. Oh, I tell you what, Cursor in an interesting position here. No crazy ward positioning from Dignitas though, which we saw from Orbit earlier on. They had some obscure ward positions that really work very well on this little invade that Curse are trying to do here. They're going to have to back off from it. You can see just continuing to clear all those wards out every step of the way. Westrice, you can see the damage he's got there, the hit points he's got in him now. That barrel really not doing a great deal to him from Skara.
Yeah, Curse really wants to force a team fight, and this has happened in a couple of previous games. They need to actually loop around, and they're trying to get onto Westrice. They need to get between Dignitas and Dignitas' towers just so they're forced up in the back, and that's how a lot of people have forced fights previously when they're in these types of standoffs this tournament.
But with that Force of Nature, with that Frozen Mallet, Shirelia's Reverie, the Hex Drinker in there, you could see the Flame Spitter really was ineffective against Westrice. That's got to be pretty scary for Dignitas. They know that Westrice is going to come charging through on towards Oimicutie or Gragas, and there's not a great deal they can do to him unless they complete focus fire on him, which means they're going to leave things like Nijaki available, Copper available to just do all that damage.
It's really interesting because Crumbs wants to use his ultimate on the backline, Scar wants to split them up,
Dignitas are in a scary spot here. I will dominate actually locking on towards St. Vicious. That's surely the worst target. He's going to get the unstoppable force down. Nijaki's going to get the Zyra ulti across them. Oimicutie taken down very low. Westrice is doing all the damage at the back. That's exactly what he needs to do. Westrice does go down. That's Gragas getting a bit double kill as well there, but Curse coming out on top of this one. Zyra managing to pick up another kill there, Nijaki, and that was a 3-for-2 exchange. Can they turn this into anything? Will they just shove straight up the middle? That's where I would go. They're going to go for that middle turret, and Cop is going to continue on here. And that was a really good turnaround from Curse there. But you know, why will Dominate hooking on towards St. Vicious and pulling it into the entire team and saying, please, just unstoppable force our entire team?
I mean, to be honest, he was going to get there anyway because the range on unstoppable force is there. But really, somewhat of a missed opportunity on that Skarner ultimate. You could really see how much presence Westrice has in these team fights. He completely dove on to I Will Dominate and Patoy, and he actually drew Skara back for Peel as well. So it was all about Crumbs and I Will Dominate being the only damage sources trying to clear out Cop and Nijaki, and it just wasn't quite enough. Oimicutie, if Dignitas wants to win these fights, pretty much him and Patoy have to fend for themselves against Dolph. They cannot peel off 3 people for him. If they want to be able to win fights, they need Skara in there so they can have 3 damage dealers for themselves. If just one man can dive through and pull off 3 of them, it's not going to be good in the long term.
And they've got a third Shirelia's Reverie now, Curse. So 3 for Curse, 2 for Dignitas. It's definitely going to be some speedy fights going on there because Element's just completed it. That's what we were talking about earlier with his ulti. He's still only level 13. Oimicutie up to 18 now. Westrice, of course, causing problems. Oimicutie, he's just got to be careful he's not the focus. St. Vicious taking a couple of hits in the back there from Crumbs, burning him down a little. Not a great deal, though. Different build, actually, for St. Vicious. Obviously, he was in the jungle, but we saw a very much an AP-heavy build Malphite earlier on today for Orbit.
Really just depends on the team composition. He knows that most of Dignitas' magic damage, despite them having double AP, is going to be going for the back line. Malphite's very much a frontliner, and he's only worried about Oimicutie's damage. He's going to be diving in with Westrice, trying to kill off Oimicutie, and we shall see how these team fights end up rolling up because all the team fights we've had previously have been very, very even. We've yet to see a clear, decisive victory with any team being able to latch on to some sort of advantage.
I think Curse feel that they are actually stronger here. You can see them starting to be the more aggressive. They are the ones that are starting to push Dignitas back every time. St. Vicious has been landing on unstoppable force very well. The question is, can they keep him at bay? And they know that Westrice is just proven the fact that he can just walk into the whole team and do the damage to him, just protecting Elements as he takes, clears out the wards there. One more in the bush, he's going to pick that one up. Elements really making this Oracle pay, by the way. He's picked up a hell of a lot of gold off the back of it so far.
It's amazing. We did talk a little bit about him not being able to hold on to that Oracles, but he has been alive for a while.
Dignitas need to be careful here. Curse were thinking about coming around the back of him. If Dignitas were to shove this lane, which they are doing, they are almost certainly saying, yes, we are ready for a fight here, Curse. Take us on. They've got to be very cautious. They don't give up and trade something too much. Curse has cleared out all that vision, though. Dignitas not really got any vision in around there. You can see there's St. Vicious. Is he going to hook on towards anyone? Oimicutie was almost certainly the Shirelia's Reverie's been popped there. Westrice wants to get him towards Oimicutie. There's the second Shirelia's Reverie. Explosive Cask had to get used. So 2 Shirelia's Reverie used still. Fiddlesticks has got one of his own. They really wanted to get him towards Oimicutie there.
Still got 1 left, and the Grog Assault is on that short cooldown. So if they could somehow find another one within the next 20 seconds, they would have a pretty big advantage. But Dignitas is most likely going to play this smart. They're just poking in and around like we've been seeing for the last about 10 minutes. Will they be able to find a fight, or will they get caught out of position?
Well, the vision of Dignitas is very much lacking around that Baron right now. You can see they've really cleared it out. They managed to just pop one more ward in that backside there, but that's going to get cleared out. They've started off on the Baron. Oh, and they spot the ward straight away at the back and have to leash off from this one.
I feel like they have to leave out this. Scar is so good at stealing Baron with that, and they're just trying to push them off with Rumble's ultimate, and wow, that is a lot of damage they're taking.
Ezreal ultimate and Rumble's ultimate. I Will Dominate actually flashing through. He needs to be careful he doesn't get caught out here. Zyra is going to be able to surely catch on to him. Jackie taking that very low. There's the unstoppable force on towards IMQDPie. Just getting out of the back there. Arcane shifting away, but Westroyce now onto Crumbs. He's going to do a lot of damage there. The true damage just bursting through. Dignitas now turning this one back around. Westroyce actually caught out of position. Scar is going to surely be able to shut him down. Yes, he will. And that was a 2-for-1 exchange, I believe. And Dignitas actually coming out very well on there. The ultimate from IMQDPie and Crumbs starting things off while they're on that Baron, doing a hell of a lot of damage burst.
Starting the fight really, really low is never the best thing. That's the second time they've tried to go in the Baron pit and just got caught out by that Rumble Up getting very low. This time, once they were low, Dignitas pounced on the advantage. They didn't care that the Rumble Up was down. They went in and pushed. Scar's ultimate also did a fairly good job isolating that fight and extending it for them. IMQDPie managed to live through the Westroyce dive, and overall, that was the first fight. Really, Dignitas has slightly won. But even with that, it was still just one more kill than Curse. None of these fights being all that decisive.
Yeah, we did see Nijaki picking up a Void Staff and Cop picking up a Quicksilver Sash on the back of that. So Cop being very careful of that Skarner ulti, although he hasn't really been close to being the target so far. I think Nijaki needs to be going to maybe get him one as well. He's been trying to keep him away. Rumble picking up the Dragon down here. You can see Crumbs. He's going to get the help of Scarlet, so they'll pick that up. And Curse actually maybe trying to convert this again into another Baron start. They've got to be careful on this one. They know there's a lot of things down. Elements again taking a lot of blasts in the face there from IMQDPie. They've got to back away from this one. Elements taking a hell of a lot of damage there.
They're addicted to starting this Baron buff, and it just continues to bite them. Elements getting taken to half, having to shop immediately. Luckily, Dignitas is not in position to capitalize on any of this, but really, Curse should most likely focus on fighting, because using the Baron baits is just putting them at disadvantages. They should try to find other creative ways to force something, because right now, this Baron strategy is not really getting them anywhere. Dignitas very successfully holding them off.
Well, we saw and heard this from Dignitas, Team Dynamic yesterday against Dignitas. You know, they were so focused on trying to get that Baron, and then they realized, you know, actually, we probably shouldn't have done that. We should have just pushed the advantage we had. There is no clear advantage right now. There's only 1,000 gold between them, one turret between them, one kill between them. Very much an even game. 43 minutes into this game. The ping actually on I Will Dominate there. Are they going to let him go back, or will they try and focus in? No, they will not. Instead, they're going to turn their attention to Skara on the right-hand side. That's where the pings are going right now. He's going to back away from that one and will clear off. Couple of items just been completed there. Last Whisper being picked up by IMQDPie. Death by Grasp by Scar and Frozen Heart by I Will Dominate. Void Staff being picked up by Crumbs as well. So Dignitas really completing a lot of items suddenly.
Interestingly enough for Westroyce, since he's diving through onto IMQDPie, and it seems to be IMQDPie's sole responsibility to clear off Westroyce, he hasn't really finished any armor items. He's close to being able to get a Ranwood's Omen, but he can't quite afford it yet. He needs a little bit more farm. Right now, if it were to happen, Westroyce would most likely lose in a duel to IMQDPie, so he needs to get a little bit more farm before they do decide to fight again.
So Dignitas setting themselves up, and again the Baron dance continues. Patoy starting to clear out those wards. I'd be amazed how much money has been invested in these wards right now, because there's been so much going down, thousands and thousands. You can see Elements starting to pull a couple more wards down around that Baron and clearing him out. Still with Oracle. Has managed to survive this long. Still only level 13 though.
There's just been so much poking around this Baron that both supports are level 14. There hasn't been much time to get lane experience. Surprisingly, I Will Dominate is still level 17. Very stalled out game in a lot of ways. Both teams having to get drawn towards here, especially when you're this close. No team really wants to create any kind of team fights in the fear that it will give them a disadvantage in one of them.
Well, you'd assume an inhibitor would go if one of these were to lose a big fight.
Especially with how long these death timers are at this point. The first big fight could even be the game if it's clean enough, with how quickly these teams will push with all the damage they have.
Dominate having to use his shield there. That axe from Westroyce getting straight across him, which means he's not going to be able to initiate for the next few minutes. And in terms of initiation, actually, Dignitas are kind of lacking, but then again, so occurs.
Curse has the Malphite, but then the Elements Initiate is slower. Westrice has to run all the way in. That's one of the big reasons we've had so much stagnation.
I will dominate. Going to go for it. Aurelius popped, but he's not going to be able to hook in there. Elements was a long way away from that one.
Scar normally...
Oh, they're into it. Unstoppable before St. Vicious manages to catch them all out. Zyra ultimate. I will dominate, taking down very low, but Westrice getting dropped by AmiCutiePie. Just as you predicted there, St. Vicious getting shredded away. That last Whisper doing all the damage. Crumbs is going to be able to hook straight on the back of him. St. Vicious goes down. Double kill for Crumbs. And just as you said, AmiCutiePie is going to beat him in a one-up straight duel. That is exactly what happened. It's almost like you played this game.
Just now after the death, Westrice picks up that random Zolman, but will it be too late? 3 kills, the first decisive victory in a team fight, and Dignitas pushing clean through for this inhibitor. Will they try to continue? It is just a support Fiddlesticks and a Cop trying to hold this off, and Dignitas is only missing their jungler.
Yeah, the Ezreal ulti going through. Here's the Siege minions with it as well, so they've got a bit of hit points. They're going to be able to tank it for a short while here. They should be able to get one of these Nexus turrets down. Crumb's actually going to get tanked down by Cop there, and AmiCutiePie just sort of getting in the way and saying, nope, you will not be able to finish him off. Minion wave coming in. Oh, Scar tried to get him towards Cop there. He's got to be careful. He's taking a bit too many tower hits. Element's going to try and get in there, but Elements will pay for his life. Cop does pick up the kill, but that's an Oracle loss there. Probably a little bit too ballsy play there from Elements.
I still think it was very much worth it. Oh, unless AmiCutiePie can finish off the tower, and he pushes through and gets it. I was going to say they did a great job holding that off, but that one Nexus tower going down could very well be extremely impactful. That means when they lose the next fight, it's much, much harder to hold up their double turrets. Great play and fight by Dignitas. Now, being so late into the game, finally the first advantage peeking its head out.
Yeah, Dignitas with that advantage. Ironically, it was Curse that started the fight. Unstoppable Force landed on 4 members of Dignitas, but they just didn't have the damage. They weren't quite in a position to get the multiple going on. Zyra's ultimate, actually, they dispersed before Zyra's ultimate could really go off. So they managed to avoid the damage there, and I Will Dominate was actually the one that was taking the brunt of it. Not really the ideal target to be hit with all that damage. He's quite happy to take it all up. It's
going to happen in most of these fights. There's just too much splitting up, and he is the guy who's going to dive in pretty much by himself. Rumble being used a bit more as Peel. He has the longer range. Dominate always going to be taking the brunt of this from Cop. Cop has to hit I Will Dominate first, otherwise he can't get past him.
And there is the first Guardian Angel being picked up by AmiCutiePie. So he is going to be much happier in those team fights. As you mentioned, though, that straight up dive from Westrice tried to get on Kittypie. Kittypie just stood there and shot him in the face.
Yeah, now with Patoy hitting level 16, that ultimate giving an extra 600 health to AmiCutiePie. All the resist coming on Cutie-Pie as well now with that Guardian Angel. The dive strategy was being so effective for Curse early. Doesn't seem to be working all that great anymore, especially once they get through to him. If he pops a Randuin's, AmiCutiePie would just be able to cleanse off the debuff and just straight up duel him. So trouble here for Curse. They need to somehow catch AmiCutiePie out of position, but he just hasn't been revealing himself very much. Dignitas actually in quite a power position here.
Yeah, and I've got a feeling they're actually going to catch St. Vicious out here. St. Vicious goes in, ulti, unstoppable force on towards Dignitas, but I Will Dominate right in the middle. Going to get caught out, but again, AmiCutiePie is going to go down. The Guardian Angel has been popped. Now Jack is going to surely get dropped by Crumbs. Crumbs gets in there. AmiCutiePie back alive at the rack, just popping them out there. Does get dropped. Cop managing to pick up 1, 2. There is Crumbs again. Elements is going to get dropped by AmiCutiePie. Well, and that just turns it around for Dignitas, doesn't it? It is an ace for 2. And honestly, Dignitas could well just shove this one straight down. They've got super minions here. They're going to follow it straight through. This could be the Nexus turret going down here, and the Nexus will follow. Scar is going to come through there. It hasn't got any minions to go in at the moment. It's got to sit and wait for that line
40
to come
seconds left on these death timers. AmiCutiePie's Guardian Angel coming in so valuable there. They did find a way around to get AmiCutiePie down. Cop managed to hit him, but once he popped up, he hopped over wall, had complete safety, and they just finished off the fight. So a long, drawn-out, well-executed game. Still a lot of kills. Congratulations to Dignitas. 2-0 lead now in this best of 5.
Indeed. 22-16, 8-3 in turrets, but it was very much a long, drawn-out thing. Could have gone either way as well. That was a very, very close match. And Scar looks happy with that one. But then again, when does he not look happy?
He's always happy.
He's always happy. And Patoy alongside him. A lot of discussions going on. It worked out very well for them. Ironically, it was Curse that initiated every time that fight they lost.
They really just realized that there wasn't much time left. Honestly, as soon as AmiCutiePie can solo Westrice, they win that game. So they needed to start trying aggressive initiates, and they probably waited a little bit too long. They tried too much Baron dancing, and Dignitas just outscaled them a little bit.
Yeah, they outscaled them. They were picking up the dragons every time during that whole Baron dance. They kept going off, picking up those dragons. Crumbs was soloing it. Crumbs was a big difference in that fight. Crumbs going, what did he get in the end there? Let's have a look. 9-5-7. That's not too bad. 17 assists on Toscana. 0-6-7.
Doing his job.
Doing his job, getting in the way. 7-3-4 for Skara as well. Very good stats across the board. 7-7-7 for Westrise, but you know, they allowed him to have Olaf. It didn't really work out for them. How are Curse going to adjust in this one? We'll find out. We're going to have a quick break and we'll be back shortly for Game 3. Ladies and gentlemen, this is MLG Raleigh Summer Championships.